And to give us analysis on this, we welcome our contributor, Mike Leon, who's the host of the podcast, Can We Please Talk? Mike, we could probably talk about a lot of health specifics, but let's look at another way that we can benefit Americans. What are the best formats for these types of hearings? I mean, we did not see Senator Kennedy talk very much today, except for that last bit with Senator Johnson. How can the senators bring their viewpoints that are shared amongst their constituents while allowing the people in charge, namely Senator Kennedy, to voice their position on it so we can really get to the bottom of these things?
Yeah, well, Kevin, first off, good to see you. And I do love the way you framed the question because these hearings are incredibly contentious. We saw so many different periods for people that weren't watching between Senator Cantwell. Obviously, we saw the ranking member on the committee just at the initial onset. But again, how do we get to listen to what he's actually doing versus what we're seeing play out now with media reports in terms of the firing of the CDC Director, 1,000 other officials at HHS calling for his resignation? I don't know how we get to that point, to be honest with you, because, they have such a short allotment of time, Kevin, in terms of asking questions within a 5-minute span that they're expecting answers to. It's almost like if you look at a trial, when the cross-examination happens, a lot of the times it's like, yes or no, did you do this? Did you do that? Whereas when you have the Republican senators that are going up there, they're going to give him more time to speak. So I don't know, the format potentially needs to change. I would like to hear a little bit more from RFK defend some of these positions. And I want to make it incredibly clear that, like, I can't even joke around with this because I have a daughter that's on the spectrum, Kevin, that is autistic. I have an atypical daughter and a typical daughter. I've been very vocal against RFK. There are some things him and I agree on, but one thing we don't agree on is vaccinations and the cause of autism. So there's a lot of things that, him and I disagree on vehemently. And I've met him before with Free and Equal Elections Foundation. But I do want to hear what it is that he's doing in terms of cutting the red tape and bureaucracy, because there are certain things that I do think the American people are like, hey, my insurance provider won't accept this. There's a lot of red tape if I want to get this procedure done versus that procedure and who would cover it. So I do want to hear a little bit more of him. I don't know how the process needs to change on Capitol Hill with these committee hearings, but I do know that it does need to be less contentious, more in the line of the way Senator Cassidy kind of led the questioning.
Understood, Mike. I'm sorry to hear about your daughter. I'm sure you're able to provide her with the care she needs, and hopefully she's able to get access to all the resources that would be demanded in that sort of situation. Now, how did RFK Jr. handle himself? You mentioned this was contentious. Sometimes he had a chance to speak, sometimes he didn't.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, it's a lot of older points that have been brought up, and Kevin, they're valid points. I mean, they're out there in the public domain. I'm not making any of this up. For years, RFK and the Children's Defense Fund, and they have talked about the vaccines and this link to autism. And they say that the medical community is hiding some of that. This is what the Democratic senators that were opposed to his nomination, and including, by the way, Senator Cassidy, who is a physician himself, have said very opposed to. Like, I'm a doctor. I trust science, right? Science is evolving. The other part is, Operation Warp Speed. There's some tweets that were kind of brought up in the hearing from some of the senators there of RFK questioning Operation Warp Speed and the effectiveness. I've been very vocal as somebody who opposes a lot of President Trump's policies. But one thing I don't oppose him on was I thought Operation Warp Speed did help save a lot of lives. Now, the public messaging around it was terrible at times, but it did help save a lot of lives. And getting a vaccine to roll out, again, vaccines are not 100% foolproof, folks. They're in the 90s, right? They help prevent diseases. They don't eradicate it, but if more people take it, you have a less chance of getting it. That's the whole point of a vaccine. But let me tell you who's not educated enough to speak on vaccines. Myself, who's not a doctor, and RFK, who is not a doctor. He's an environmental lawyer. And I think that's always been the main contention point around his nomination. And I think what you saw today, Kevin, in the hearing is a lot of Democratic senators continue to bring up things that they brought up in his confirmation hearings, whereas you saw some of the Republican senators talk about some of the things with the bureaucracy stuff that I mentioned that CDC is trying to, or at least he's trying to eliminate at CDC, at FDA, by firing some of these advisory committee members, some who I've happened to know and have been on my program. And we've talked about what are some of the things that he's doing, whether it be harm, whether it be something that is right or wrong. I just think he didn't get enough time because he has to combat people that are already going in there with that same level of questioning that they had in his confirmation hearing. And it's tough to keep re-answering things, as he noted several times during that hearing. It's tough to re-answer something that I've already answered numerous times that's been entered into the record. This episode of Can We Please Talk is presented by our friends over at Fresh Roasted Coffee. Delicious tasting coffee since 2009. They've been our proud sponsor. You see the promo code there. Look at this. They sent me this beautiful kit right here. Listen to that. Listen to that seal coming out, right? What's in it? Environmentally safe, compostable K-Pods. I love the dark Mexican blend. You can go to their website right now, take the quiz. That quiz is going to put you with a flavor profile. Listen to that sound of the coffee that you're going to be matched up with. Go to freshroastedcoffee.com. Click the link right now in our show notes. You can see it right there. Click that link. It's going to take you to the site. When you get to checkout, use our promo code, Can We Please Get 20? All one word, Can We Please Get 20, 20. You're going to get 20% off your first purchase. Head to freshroastedcoffee.com, our official sponsor of the Can We Please Talk podcast.
If you're a voter, for example, what should you do? I mean, if you have a senator and let's say the person in charge, Kennedy, he was confirmed, his future as HHS secretary, that's to be seen. But if you're a voter, would you like to tell your senators, hey, we want to hear what he has to say, and ask a good follow-up instead of coming on and just, it's just a one-sided conversation, because we really want to get to the bottom of this. What advice do you have for voters?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question, Kevin, because I was just talking to a voter, my wife, about this before. It's like, what do I do now? Because he is in charge, and I disagree with a lot of his viewpoints about safety, efficacy of vaccines, et cetera, et cetera. Well, here's what you do. First, elections have consequences. You have to elect people that have the majority of the positions that you agree with, whether it be about the economy, whether it be about immigration, whether it be about climate change, whether it be about this. I think a lot of people, Kevin, don't understand that when a new administration comes in, they get to appoint cabinet members. And those cabinet members oversee agencies at the federal government that trickle down to the state and localities that will make influential policy position and changes. RFK was one of them. And there was no hiding RFK during the election cycle. He ran for president as independent. There was that huge, you and I talked about this, the huge presser that he did with Donald Trump in front of thousands of people there, saying that he was going to put him at HHS and he was going to let him run wild on health. So if you truly felt about that as a voter, or if you're one of these apathetic voters that, was part of the 90 million folks that didn't vote in the process, and now all of a sudden you're up in arms, this is why you need to tune into NTD. This is why you need to listen to information like this, so that way you can make a better informed decision. So that way the person that you want to elect, whether it be senator, House of Representative member, whether it be somebody at the presidential level, will actually put people in charge that agree with what you agree with, which is science is evolving. We need to trust doctors and experts and advisory boards and committees, because doctors holistically maybe don't have the subject matter expertise about one area of medicine. So they put boards together, and those boards make public recommendations, which are followed by the people that are senators, congressional folks that write legislation. That's how this works. So if you want to learn more about the process, you have to continue to stay informed, and you have to listen. We have short retention spans, and people are lazy in terms of their search habits, Kevin, not as human beings, just in terms of their search habits of getting information. Listen to everything, take in all those sets of facts that I just mentioned, and then go make a better informed choice in the ballot box.
Taken as a whole in the realm of civics, that sounds like it's really good advice. If you are someone, for example, who disagrees with Trump and Kennedy's viewpoints and the way that they're administering policy, how can these senators make the maximum impact? For example, if they just put out a tweet or an X post and it was just all about how they disagree, what's the difference between that and having Kennedy come in if he can't talk? In other words, what can senators do to make it more impactful and in getting out their grievances?
Well, I mentioned before about Senator Cassidy, who's a Republican, obviously in Louisiana, and a doctor, right? I want to encourage people to go back. This is the other part of this, Kevin. People don't watch these hearings, right? I've been watching this hearing for the last hour and a half, and it's still unfolding right now. They're in recess break. And I've been watching this hearing, glued to it, listening to the way senators are questioning him and answers. And then at the same time, looking up the data sets that he mentions, whether it be a study that the CDC did in 2022. I need to find out more about this information. But more importantly, I need to seek out subject matter experts. But let me go back to your question. Senator Cassidy, I think, did the best job. He goes, let me ask you about something you said with respect to this. But he started the questioning with a basic premise. Operation Warp Speed helped save lives. In March of 2020 and all throughout those months, we went through a public health emergency. The globe did, not just the United States. We went through a public health emergency where officials at these agencies were scrambling to get the latest information and data to the American people. President Trump took it upon himself, in addition to the recommendations he got from Dr. Fauci, Dr. Birx, and all of the other medical professionals in the administration advising them to get Operation Warp Speed underway to roll out a life-saving vaccine that normally takes 5 years to develop, rolled out to the American public in 10 months. So he started with the question of like, we agree that this was good? Yeah, we agree with this is good. Okay, well, you said that this, and then give data sets and have the person answer back in a respectful manner. Like you said, let me hear your response back. We only have 5 minutes. That's the other part of this, Kevin. We only got 5 minutes, right, to have a conversation. And we don't have 12, 13 minutes. This is not a podcast. So you've got to give me your answer in a concise format. And I think Senator Cassidy's line of questioning is something I would encourage other senators to try to go out there and do. You know that you have this person, for all intent and purpose, dead to rights in terms of something that they said that's contradictory to what they're doing right now, policy position wise. So frame the question properly, then lead them down the rabbit hole and say, you said this, but right now you're doing this. Why the mixed messages? And then let the person give them a chance to answer and respond. I think he did the best job Senator Cassidy did in that exchange with RFK. Hey, everybody, Mike Leon from the Can We Please Talk podcast. Thank you so much for watching this clip. Do me a favor, hit subscribe. You're going to get more content from us over at Can We Please Talk.